It has now been 18 years since My Chemical Romance released their seminal debut, I Brought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love. One of their underappreciated bodies of work that is the most in touch with their post-hardcore punk roots before they emerged onto MTV with their more commercial albums like 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge and The Black Parade. 2 concept albums that I would consider modern rock operas. Bullets was the band's debut with indie label Eyeball Records, before they would add high-energy Jersey punk stalwart Frank Iero as their rhythm guitarist for future projects. Influences on this album range from hardcore punk to metal and soft rock, looking to acts like Iron Maiden, The Misfits, The Smiths, Motorhead, and even incorporating frontman Gerard Way's affinity for witches and vampire folklore, horror, and the macabre. My Chemical Romance came up in the gritty basement punk rock scene in Newark, New Jersey, where they would cut their teeth playing basement gigs to under 50 people, and would receive physical threats for being too flamboyant for the scene's liking. The band has always been deliberately transgressive, all the way from how they presented on stage and to the ways they treated their fans as individuals who deserved respect. Their actions as a band were extensions of the ambitions they had to change the scene and make an impact on young kids. Gerard Way sang about his addiction, his obsession with death, revenge, casual nihilism, and even lack of faith in humanity. The subject matter for this album was monumental for kids who felt the same way. It gave them the clarity and reassurance they needed that they weren't crazy, that there was nothing wrong with them for feeling this way. Way made this extremely clear on the song Skylines and Turnstiles, which directly opens with the line, "You're not in this alone." This was the first song Way ever wrote for the band, and the lyrics empathize with victims of 9/11, an event that he witnessed firsthand while working as a cartoonist in New York. He saw the Twin Towers collapse while he was in Hoboken right across the river, and this was the catalyst for him to question the entire trajectory of his life and start a band, recruiting his brother Mikey to play bass, and another hometown acquaintance, Ray Toro, on lead guitar, whose shredding skills have garnered comparisons to Brian May from Queen. Front to back, from the buzzing, static interlude romance down to the slower, stripped-down early sunsets over Monroeville, which could easily pass for a lo-fi indie pop song today, from an act like Elvis Depressedly or Teen Suicide, and even the reckless closing track, Demolition Lovers, a Romeo and Juliet / Bonnie Clyde-inspired song about a doomed romance between 2 lovers driving off a cliff together. The album contains a direct and confrontational storyline that deals with subject matter that was often avoided in the mainstream music scene before the MySpace emo boom. I Brought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love is sonically packed with screamo-fueled thrashers that one could compare to their emo counterparts and good friends from The Used. In songs like Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough for the Two of Us, and Headfirst for Halos, Way sings about his addiction, his struggle with mental illness, and even his self-destructive tendencies. Way's guttural, thrashing screams that he drew from the pits of his core are jarring at first, and they are certainly an acquired taste for music consumers who aren't as familiar with anything leaning in the direction of screamo, hardcore, and metalcore. This is at the forefront of the violently haunting track Vampires Will Never Hurt You, a performance Way delivered in the studio after getting punched in the jaw by his producer while suffering from an abscess in his tooth, and knowing the state of agony he had to be in while doing all that screaming in the studio makes the listening experience all the more visceral. And what makes this album even more important now is knowing how monumental of a multi-generational impact MCR has had on people of all ages all over the world, which I can't imagine they would have pictured in their wildest dreams while they were writing this album. That's why watching them perform Our Lady of Sorrows at their reunion show at the Shrine in LA in December, in front of an emotional crowd packed with kids getting to see the band that saved their lives for the first time, had to be such a full circle moment for them. In conclusion, happy birthday to Bullets. There has truly never been a body of work like it since.